Hello, welcome, happy 2025. This is being reintegrated. I got my copy. Finally, Amazon had an issue. From Kim Publishing, we have The Spirit of Things, Volume 1. I'm reading out of this book. Now, I used Kim Publishing as a Facebook page. If you support, we can get a website, or I don't know what the value for other people are for these books. You may not like them, which is fine. I like them, and this is what I wanted to start doing, was making books and then studying those books as a researcher. And I found that the book market didn't have them. They just did not have what I wanted and needed. That happened a long time ago. I'm not going to go through every book, but Cohen Instructions, which was my first book of Saint Martin, I could not get anybody to work with me to get the translation. So I used Chat GPT, and it was so much better than Google Translate. And so I went through the method of using that, learning that, going through the hard times with that. You probably see my green screen chair. I mean, the point I'm trying to make, and that I wanted to make, is that none of this stuff can be perfect. It takes a lot of time and a lot of money to perfect everything. Truth be told, on Volume 1, which I think looks great, there are a couple of errors. If that is a problem, let me know and we can talk about the errors if you point it out. I'm not going to point it out myself, but point out the error, and I will get a copy and have it sent to you. I have a French a conversant editor. So these books are not just, GPT thrown out there and that's what you get. And so what? Put up with it. Like some other publications that I've actually purchased for pretty expensive because of their rarity and usefulness for the material we cover. So these are inexpensive, 20 bucks. You can get it on Amazon. I don't get much of a profit, but I kept it on Amazon so it would be centralized and available. Knock on wood, should I pass? So anyway, we're looking at Volume 1, Spirit of Things. Here's the book. It's, 217 pages. There's an index. And so we are now reading page 30, which is Of the Spirit of Divine, Spiritual, and Natural Mirrors. I don't have to keep plugging pictures of a book, but we will be using this book. This podcast, being reintegrated, is going to go through each one of these volumes, Volume 1 and Volume 2 of The Spirit of Things. So I'm so grateful to have this. Now, due to the marketing factor, you may see this in public, you may see it in private. If you're a subscriber, you can be sure to see it in private, because I don't want everything to be available, but I also don't want everything to be eliminated from the public, since, purchasing of books and subscribing to Patreon keeps these efforts going. So if you like what you see, maybe subscribe to Patreon, become a member. It's $7. Like I said, we're going to go through all of these lectures and read them, and comment on them. So if you have the book, great, you can follow along. If you don't, go pick it up. It's relatively inexpensive compared to what other publishers are doing out there. I'm trying to provide the best I possibly can while not shooting myself in the eyeball. Kim Publishing is going for 2025. The reason why God created millions of spiritual beings is so that he could have in their existence an image of his own generation. For without this, as was seen earlier, he would not know himself, because he always proceeds before himself. Yet, despite these countless mirrors that gather his universal rays from all sides, each according to its particular properties, He only knows himself in his product and result, and he keeps his own center eternally wrapped in his ineffable magic. Oh, I love that. We're just talking about God, and, subtly we get into the distinction of creator. At this time it was millions of spiritual beings. It's countless spiritual beings, but, the countless thing, I mean, it says that there's countless mirrors that gather his universal rays. So I'm thinking that this was referring to people at that time in the 1700s. We probably only did have 1 million people. Now we have like 8 billion, pretty much way larger than the amount of exposure to populations that they had during this time. But his own center, he keeps his own center eternally wrapped in his ineffable magic. Boy, that's a sentence that can't be translated any clearer. There's some mystery and mysticism there, but also there's some clarity. And that's what I love about these translations. They're done by AI and then read by me. So you're hearing what they sound like. And, you don't have to buy the book, of course, but they help me. So I get to go through this natural philosophy, which Favre said that Saint-Martin's natural philosophy was pretty much one of the only expositions of natural philosophy that you can get. And the Germans even went back to it. So The Spirit of Things, Volume 1, Natural Philosophy of Saint-Martin, introducing Jakob Boehme to, those who were French Enlightenment people, and the German mysticism that comes with that. So, spiritual beings follow the same law. We do not know the rights of our thoughts except through the images that are born within us, which spring from our center, and which within the limits of their powers become perceptible or apprehensible to us through the fecundating union of their mutual potentialities. These images are the mirrors in which our spirit contemplates itself and acquires knowledge of its own treasures. That is why the more we exercise our intellectual and moral faculties in their true sense, the more we gain esteem and admiration for the nature of our being. Consequently, the more we fulfill the supreme plan that calls us to help God know himself and his products and results, a task he can only accomplish by finding pure mirrors around him on which he can see his own rays reflected. Woo! He's talking about the mirroring function right here. And I don't think it could be any clearer than that. I mean, there's definitely Cohen language there. So if you know what you're listening to, the images that are born within us, which spring from our center, and then they talk about God's center here. So it's pretty amazing when you know what it is. The Ordre des Cohens Ressuscités, we talk about all these things. We've translated Favre's Introduction to the Lessons of Leon. The Lessons of Leon used is the one from the late Paul Rana and the OMS, because I love that version. It does the Amadou numbering. It has great footnotes related to the Martinist vision, and even it includes some stuff that most people don't know about, which came from R8018, which is a document that Catherine Amadou, the late Amadou, Robert Amadou's wife, and is continuing his publishing and with rights and everything. She included some lessons of Leon that are not in other popular versions. So those are numbered as well. And, I'm very grateful that Paul Rana introduced those to people interested in this topic, because it's primarily a literary tradition. I mean, there are some mystical, points of reference, but primarily this stuff was all written down because what was written down mattered. These people didn't spend their fortunes and life and all the energy during the French Revolution to write books that can easily be discarded. So I'm grateful to have this in English. I'm grateful to be able to know what some of these terms mean from the other literary productions. And, though I don't myself offer the lessons of Lyon because Alex Bushman, the translator, and Paul Rana did such a great job that I love that translation. Now, it is available on the Cohen Codex. Just so you know, if you want the OMS version or the Paul Edward Rana version, you can go on the Cohen Codex, which is where we, meaning some friends and I, have created, along with these really good translations from native French speakers. I mean, somewhat native French speakers. They're pretty bilingual. Alex Bushman is a great translator. Professionally has translated, the books of Stanislaw de Gaida. I use one of his books for my Kabbalistic readings, which is the Rosicrucian Kabbalah, I think it's called. Rosicrucian Kabbalah. Great book. So this was Albert Jone, which Stanislaw de Gaida, who was considered a master of Pappus, said there is no better introduction to Zoharic Kabbalah than Albert Jone's book. So Alex Bushman translated this, pretty much the same thing I did. He didn't put his name on the front of it because it's a translation. It's not really his. Now, I did on my book put edited by me because it does take a lot of work to edit one of these things. So, I do get editing credit, but it's not my book. So it says Louis Claude de Saint-Martin on it and edited by me. Anyway, the law of mirrors is so constitutive that it is not only the frames formed by our own mind that help us gather and reflect our images. Everything surrounding us can fulfill this function toward us. This is why we are constantly seeking frames around us, which is why we so passionately engage in the cultivation of arts and sciences and the study of all those external objects that strike our eyes and reflect our own wisdom as we reflect the wisdom of God. This is why we so deeply desire to have a place in the spirit and heart of our fellow men, because we should find there mirrors that would help increase the intensity of our own and help us further in accomplishing the principle and sovereign purpose of our existence. That doesn't sound like a gobbledygook translation to me. Anyway, but if faithful mirrors of our faculties and spiritual treasures can be formed both within us and outside of us, reflecting according to their various measures the abundant riches of truth, there can also be false mirrors that push it away, just as there is a nullity of mirrors that causes it to cease to appear. This is what constitutes the light-headed, foolish, and impious men. Thus, there are several types of adversaries to truth among men. Some of those who do not use their thoughts, others are those who use them in the wrong direction. These various classes are each at opposite extremes of the truth. Wow. So truth being a middle between this dynamic. You hear about the criminal and the madman being the genius and the visionary, but Saint-Martin's saying, if you're in truth, you're kind of in the middle between, the crazy mystic and the ultimately materialistic manifesting magician kind of thing. So I really like that. I think I'm an advocate for the middle way. And, I've recently done a lecture on being reintegrated that is available to subscribers for free. That goes over some of the dynamics of these occult models that we're talking about. Finally, natural beings also have their mirror to reflect the display of their faculties, such as the goal and the final object of all their generations. So we see here natural beings is not humans, which is what he's referring to in the beginning as beings. Such is the goal and the final object of all their generations. And it is from this final reason that the extreme paternal and maternal love derives, which otherwise would only be known in a hidden and shadowy manner, and would not have the evidence of its virtual power, nor the manifest demonstration of its existence. But it is to reflect the faculties of generation and conservation that the mirrors of the animal and material class are limited. This class does not have mirrors that reflect the traits of its wisdom, in which it can contemplate itself as man does. It does not need such mirrors because it has no works of wisdom to produce. So the first point is that there's a maternal and paternal love. So that is very important. We live in a world where love has kind of been outsourced only to the maternal. I won't get too political, but the point is that love, if it's only maternal, is not love. I love how Samartan kind of throws that in there. That love is the mirror of the maternal and paternal love. So that is a hell of a point in and of itself. And that nature doesn't need to mirror anything. Nature is what Samartan was writing about, which is the Descartesian res extensa, which means it's the natura naturata, and nature is itself. It doesn't need to become anything. It doesn't need to evolve itself, because nature is nature. And it does not lose its center. So this denaturing of nature by saying that it's, dark and demonic and the earth is a prison, not so much for nature itself. Nature in and of itself is not good or bad. It's just nature. This chain of progressive mirrors, of which the order of things is composed, rests entirely on this hierarchy of units we have established earlier. Just as the predominant unity, no class of beings can exist except in the partial unity of its own powers. And it is only through this that each class of beings serves as a mirror and a place of rest for this class immediately above it. For every unity is a mirror. Oh, that's great. Every unity is a mirror. That is the many and the one right there. Samartan throwing the silver handles and brandishing that philosophical power that he was admired for in Germany. That is why man's position was so important. If it is true that by maintaining himself in the harmony of his partial unity, he became the mirror of the supreme and universal unity, he could not fail, by ceasing to maintain this harmony of his partial unity, to cease being the mirror and resting place of the predominant unity. At the same time, this mirror of man, by tarnishing, must break the chain of all mirrors that came after him and render them dull in turn. Thus, even today, if the bodily eye of man is altered and obscured, it no longer has communication with all the natural objects surrounding him, which are under his dependence, and which await from him their maintenance, cultivation, and embellishment. Man the king, not men the kings, but mankind, the kings of all beings. It's so awesome to see in Samartan this philosophy. So 19 minutes, not too much. I mean, there's not too much there, except for that section is highly about mirrors. And if you have not read the book of Stanislaw de Gaida, translated by Alex Bushman, go get it, because it's all about mirrors too. I'll plug that book for you, Bushman. So I'm glad that we are able to do this. The publishing venture is open. Kim Publishing publishing without corporate control. We're into 2025 now with 6 or 7 books from last year. So moving forward with these video publications on Being Reintegrated, I'd like to say Happy New Year and thanks for participating in this once in a lifetime event of actually delving deeply into the philosophical structures of Saint-Martin, Boma, the Elocoan, and Martinism. See ya.